The Memorial Cup playoffs are just around the corner, and a few Habs prospects are still showing out in their respective tournaments, but we have some bad news about Owen Beck, as he's been suspended for the final 2 games of his series. We'll be breaking down all this news on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And as always, guys, a quick reminder to hit subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Been asking that a lot recently because it helps you guys see our videos the second they're posted. We know you guys love our news, so if you subscribe and hit that bell, you'll get it even faster. Jesse, let's talk a bit about some Habs prospects shining in the CHL playoffs. And the CHL playoffs are really fun, right? You got the WHL, the OHL, and the Q all fighting for a spot in the Memorial Cup, where this year the host is Kelowna. So the Kelowna Rockets have a bye, and the winner of each of those 3 leagues gets to play in this super fun CHL tournament. And we got a few Habs prospects left, and the one we're going to open with today is Mr. Owen Beck. And it's not so great news, as Owen Beck has been suspended. If you guys haven't watched the clip, it's available on the Habs subreddit, it's on Twitter, there's a lot of places you can see, but he was suspended for the rest of the final 2 games for a slew foot in game number 5, and yeah, I think it's pretty much a classic slew foot. Jesse, before we get into Owen Beck's production, what are your kind of thoughts on this suspension? Do you think he deserved the final 2 games of this crucial series where Peterborough's up 3-2?
Well, it's the second time of being suspended, so far in these playoffs. I think that is what kind of unfortunately does warrant the 2 games. It was, as you mentioned, just the classic slew foot. I think definitely it's just letting emotion kind of get the best of him a little bit in this situation. So a little bit unfortunate to see, and definitely a big loss for the Peterborough Petes in these finals.
Yeah, I mean, he's been getting a few major penalties. That's not the best thing you want to see, but it's interesting too because he's up against Logan Mailloux and the London Knights. We're going to talk about him a bit as the video goes on, but really unfortunate. And for someone like Owen Beck, while in my opinion, Jesse, when I'm watching him play for Peterborough and even for Mississauga earlier in the season, I felt like he just looked like the best skater out there. He looked like a guy who could just dominate the flow of the game, but if we look at his actual point production, it's maybe not what you want. Since being traded to Peterborough, he's been a sub-point per game guy as a 19-year-old in the OHL, and in the playoffs, 16 points in 22 games. Yeah, he's scoring a bit. His scoring goal space has went up a bit. Are you concerned about Owen Beck's sort of, I don't want to say lack of production, because to be honest, again, he passes the eye test for me. It's just the scoring numbers aren't there. I just want to know, what are your kind of thoughts on his production thus far?
I think the eye test is the most important with this because we've seen many of our prospects, even this year, where let's say their point production is going down a little bit, just like Joshua Waugh, but they're probably becoming much more complete hockey players overall. So for me, I'm not too worried about Owen Beck. What I'm really concerned about is them just contributing to winning hockey. And I find just the fact that we have so many young prospects that are making deep runs in the playoffs, vying for a spot in the Memorial Cup, this is absolutely so fundamental, so important for their development. So it's so great that we have this, and the fact that they're actually playing so well right now. So we'll definitely have to see where this leads us in the future.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The OHL playoffs have been crazy, and like we said, guys, it's not just Owen Beck in the finals of these OHL playoffs. We also got Logan Mailloux. These guys are going head-to-head, as right now Owen Beck's Peterborough Petes are up 3-2 in the series against Logan Mailloux and the London Knights, but the Knights forced a Game 6 in last game. They were down 3-1, and they won the game, including Logan Mailloux scoring an empty netter to seal the deal. Jesse, this is one prospect I know he's a bit controversial. He still is. There's still people saying, like, oh, well, when he's eventually ready to make the jump to the NHL, they still have to approve him and all this. But it sure seems like he'll probably end up in the AHL next year. He's such a big body, 6'3", 208. And his goal scoring and scoring in general has been insane. 23 points in 20 playoff games. For you, when you see Logan Mailloux putting up these kind of numbers as a defenseman, what does that scream to you as maybe a future role on the Habs?
It screams to me as a role on the power play and just general kind of excitement for me as a fan, because I feel like we're finally getting like a good balance between offensive defensemen and defensive defensemen. Whereas we know for many years, we just kind of concentrate on having those defensive defensemen, with Edmundson, Kulak, etc. And I mean, that did serve us great come playoff time and did almost, help get us a cup, in that finals. Of course, we didn't fare the best in that finals, but all the same, it was very beneficial to us in those playoffs to kind of have those big defensive defensemen. But I think in today's NHL, just every year more so and more so, you really need those offensive type of defenseman to really balance those defensive guys as well. And just having a balance like that on your defensive end, we're seeing Mailloux, we're seeing Hutson, we're seeing the rise of Matheson. So, possibly seeing them in the future on a power play. Not all at the same time, but maybe on different units. I think that would be very dangerous.
Yeah, the Habs are really, really stocking up on these potential power play defensemen. Mike Matheson's been crazy. Has been maybe the Habs' best power play player other than Caufield and maybe Suzuki, of course. But yeah, no, Mailloux has looked phenomenal throughout these whole playoffs, notably on the offensive end of the puck. And if you watch London, this London Knights team has a very, very solid defense. And when I say solid, they're very good defensively in general. Not only their defensemen, but their forwards are defensively conscious. And I think to some people who are maybe watching Mailloux, that can maybe give you the false impression that Mailloux himself is a very good defender. And we want to make it clear, Mailloux is definitely not projected to be an elite defender at the NHL level. But with his size and his ability, he doesn't move amazingly well, but he's fairly fast for the size that he has. I think that can turn him into a plus defender at the NHL level if he really puts it together. And while it's not there right now, Jesse, do you see a world where Mailloux kind of ends up being a very solid offensive defenseman? Like, if he ends up being a neutral defender, is that where you want it to stop for him? Or do you see him even maybe getting higher into being a good defensive defenseman?
I could see him, definitely improving on that side of the game because while he's not like the quickest, he is still fairly mobile all the same. Watching highlights from him this year, we've seen him even do these end-to-end type of rushes. So for me, it's more his positioning and more of that awareness that needs to be improved. It's not that he can't get around the ice or anything else like that. So I think with him being so big and then just improving on your positioning on top of that, he's going to cover a lot of dangerous places on the ice and therefore be a really good defenseman for us.
I think so too. He's really exciting. This series is amazing. You guys should tune in to watch Game 6 if you can. It's been a lot of fun. But one series that is completely over is Jared Davidson's Seattle Thunderbirds. They went through the WHL playoffs, and honestly, this team looks like they just can't be stopped. They're the 2022-23 WHL champions. And Habs Prospect, former 5th-round pick, a bit of an overager for the WHL. It's his 5th year in the W, and he's 20 years old, but he has put up some amazing numbers. 38 goals, 44 assists, 82 points in 60 games, and in the playoffs, 23 points in 19 games. Jesse, this Seattle Thunderbirds team is one of the more stacked CHL teams I've ever seen. And even if we're going to see one of Beck or Mailloux make the Memorial Cup, but it's cool that we'll have at least 2 Habs prospects. Just give me a quick rundown on what you think of Jared Davidson. Do you see him as projecting as an NHLer? Because to me, I think more like high-end AHL guy who maybe will get some quick time in the NHL if he continues to improve.
I don't think he projects to be an NHLer with the Montreal Canadiens.
Okay.
But that being said, with us having so many prospects, for sure we're going to have to move things around a little bit as well and kind of even make some rooms for our incoming prospects because, of course, with this draft, we got a lot coming as well. So I really see him possibly getting a chance with another organization. Just right now, I think everybody's just kind of fighting for every position. Competition is fierce right now, which is what you want. And, sometimes having these picks and still having that organizational depth, even if they don't turn out to be NHLers, is still okay for your team as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a great angle to take, right? Like, not every single player is going to play for the Habs. They just can't do that. They have so many prospects. But Jared Davidson's a fun player to watch, especially at this level of hockey. So I suggest tuning in to the Memorial Cup if you can, because you'll get to see one of Jared Davidson and one of either Owen Beck or Logan Mailloux. It's going to be a ton of fun. Those playoffs start very soon, and we can't wait. But in the meantime, that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We just passed 5,500 subs, guys. We're halfway from 5 to 6,000. It feels like it just took us no time. The gap from 4 to 5 and 5 to 6, not even comparable. Thank you guys so much for the support, and let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on these 3 Habs prospects and their Memorial Cup chances. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.